What's going on, guys? Joel Robinson here, and welcome to part 2 of my 4th of July 2020 fireworks show preparations. Alright, let me show you what I got going on here. So we have 4 racks here, 24 shot, 30 shot, 36 shot, 20 shot. These are all going to be part of the finale, which are all going to be shells. Previous years, someone asked me, like, why did I stop using shells? And mostly that's because it's hard to coordinate shells with timing variances and like effects and things like that. This year I'm like, screw it, let's just do a Sky Puke finale, meaning we're gonna fire all of these in like 5 seconds. So we have a full case of Hellcat cans down here by Sky Bacon. So these are all the same effects, like 12 here, 12 there, and so forth. So like these 12 cans are all crackling. Now when I'm firing this fast, even if I try to separate them, they're going to all mix. I did separate them here thinking I was going to try to coordinate it, but in the end I'm probably just going to fill the tubes up and fire everything as fast as possible. Now I have 70, technically 71 there because I shot one off to test it, and I have 110 tubes there. So we're gonna have to fill in more, and I have it set up to position 1, 2, 3, 4, where position 3 doesn't have a rack. I can easily fill that in if we need to. So let's go take a look at the canister shells that I have elsewhere to see what else we want to use. Alright, so here are the extra canister shells we're not using. So my thought was, I have these reloadable mine comets. I thought about throwing those in there, having them shoot, because then it gives some like, rising effects, right? All of these guys, there's 12 of them. So I might throw those in the beginning. I'm not using the double impacts, I want to keep those. Those are really good. Probably going to use both of the Bulldog strobe shells. These are all pretty much strobe, all white colored to white strobe. And then I want to do a video specifically on the 3 taco, or however you say it, brand shells. So, what does that give us? That gives us 12 of the reloadable Commons mines, 12 of the strobing, so another 24. So we're still like 15 short. So I'm thinking I'm just going to take like half of the Contraband 24 shells, and then maybe like some from one of these other kits and just fill the rest. And then if we decide that we want to add an additional rack, we'll probably pull from Boom and Bulldog and fill that, because I want to do a video also on the Shogun shells back there too. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start dropping shells. Alright, so the first shots here, those 4, those 3, those 3, and those 2 are all the comets and mines. So with how this is spread out, which is about 200 total feet between all 4 of these, it's going to create a cool little effect, and I still got to fill all those other tubes, so let's get to it. Alright, I'm going to throw the strobe and white knight shells, which are also strobe shells from Booming Bulldog, into this rack. There's other strobe shells in that rack. And then I'm pulled out 2 of the Contraband 24 sleeves, so 12 shells there, and I'll put these all together as well. These are mixed effects. Funny thing, there's like no branding on the tubes or anything. Like, a lot of times these are wrapped. So these are just raw tubes, bases, everything, which I kind of dig. So the Contraband shells from my research is Winco Fireworks, which is the company behind Black Cat. So I have no idea if these are going to be good or not, but anyway. Also, funny thing, look at the wall thickness difference on those tubes. Isn't that interesting? I actually have a video on how these tubes are made that I posted back in like December, if you want to check it out. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Alright, let's continue dropping. I am 1 shell short, and that's what I get for testing that Hellcat can. Anyway, they're all dropped in the tubes now. We're going to start fusing, and I haven't figured out if I'm going to use quick fuse or if I'm going to use quick match. I have both available to me. I want them to go as fast as possible, so I'm thinking quick match. Alright, so we have a wide assortment of fuse. I have this half-second per foot fuse. I think this is what I'm going to end up using. I have a ton of it. I haven't used fuse on racks in a long time, so I figured I'm just going to go and do that instead of using quick match. And so what I'll do is I'll just run, fuse down each row, and like this, the dual rows here, I'll just run 1 fuse down the middle and have them all come together, and then all 3 of these will come together at the end, and I'll quick match at the end. So that way, lights at the end, all the rows at the same time. So in reality, it should only take a second, maybe a second and a half for everything to light, and that's plenty of time. I'm not worried about that slight delay. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this half-second per foot fuse. Let's do it. All right, what we're going to do, we're going to take our fuse and we're going to run it down the middle of both of these sets of mortars. Do it the same thing over here, and then these will tie off, and this will be our light point here in the front. So when we're doing this, what we want to do is make sure the fuse of the shells is facing wherever the fire is coming from. So in this case, fire is coming this way, so we're going to have the fuse of every single shell face the direction of the fire. A couple reasons for that. All of these fuses, first off, there's cut, so that's the black powder core, or they might be primed, like you can kind of see in this little white tip here. That's going to be the first thing that touches fire, so we want to make sure that that is facing the fire, so that comes in contact first. And then we tape, an inch or so with the main trunk line there, so while the trunk line burns, it has all of this extra fuse here to catch on fire. So if it doesn't catch on the end, it still has an extra inch plus to light the fuse. If you do it the other way, you run risk of shells not going off, and so forth. So let's go ahead and start doing this. You can use zip ties if you want to. There's a big debate. People use zip ties, people use tape. Either one's fine. Many different types of tape is also fine. I specifically am using black masking tape. It's just what I have on hand right now. Some of the best tape is actually packing tape from UPS, which is the brown, really sticky tape. So what I'm going to do is just rip off some pieces of tape to start with, so that way I can just grab pieces of tape. Okay, so let's start with the last two shells, and so I'm just going to line all these together so that they make several inches worth of contact. Let me get my arm out of the way, like so. And we're going to use our tape to secure these down, and we want to make sure that the fuses are indeed touching each other to make the best contact. And I'll probably come back here and clean it up. You see how the powder core is exposed at the end? I'll come back and put another piece of tape on there. But that's the start of it, and we're just going to continue that down the line. Alright, so that's the basics of how it would look. Again, I'm going to come back through here and add a little more pieces of tape just to kind of secure this on the back end. And you'll see I left plenty of extra room here to connect over. Do the same thing down this line. We'll connect these at the end. I will cut a piece of quick match, a couple inches in length. Take our fuses here, slide them over the quick match, and put our electric match right there at the end. Also, I might add a backup hit on this, which would only be just in case the main hit doesn't go, meaning like tie these off over here and put another match. It would be in the wrong direction of the fire, where the fire's coming from, but the whole point is there's simply just a backup. So hopefully if this fires, everything's great. If it doesn't fire, hit this and maybe we still have some shells go. So I don't know, we'll see. And lastly, once we finish all this, I'll cover this in foil, and the main reason for that is to protect it from igniting premature from other fallout during the show. Because this is our finale, we obviously don't want this to go halfway through our show. Covering this with foil prevents fallout from going down to that tube lighting a shell. Alright, so I'm going to continue this process with the remaining racks. Alrighty, so there's all 4 racks for 4 positions, 110 shells, fused up, ready to go. Now, I have a question for you guys. Should I add another 30 shells in the center position? I have another rack of 30. I have plenty of shells. Do you think I should add a 5th pod in here for the center? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, did some slight adjustments to my show. At one point in time, 2 minutes and 17 seconds in, I have both the Prankster and the Yin Yang 9 on the boards firing together, and they go for about 40 seconds before some slice cakes go, meaning they're pretty much the only things going off. The part of the song is slow. It's supposed to accent the beauty of these fireworks. These are both kind of like ring no-abs. So it's supposed to kind of accent those fireworks. I'm just worried those are just too slow. So what I decided to do is in that same time I added in these 36-shot falling leaf multicolored cakes. So that way 2 of these are going to be going off at the same time. These are low noise, right? They just break and they kind of like fall down. So it just adds a mid-level effect while the no-abs are shooting above. So I'm hoping that kind of ties it together. So I went ahead and added 2 more cakes to my show. Also, I decided, based on some research and some other people's research in the comments, we are going to go ahead and double match. Because everything I found was 40 seconds plus online. I didn't find anything close to 25 seconds. So you'll see that's the main entry point. That's the secondary entry point. I actually just kind of took a peek inside here to make sure that it truly does fire that way. So this is the very last shot to fire. So we'll just hit those both at the exact same time in series. So that way the cake goes twice as fast. So I just wanted to show you that. Now let's go take a look at the single shots. Okay, so now for some of the single shot positions. So if you remember in years past, we used a pegboard approach where we zip tied all of our single shots to these pegboard racks I made, which was very cost effective. It's just extremely time consuming. This year I actually got some metal racks, except I only got 2. So I'm going to use 2 for 2 positions, and then the other 3 positions I'm going to use a different approach, which is these what are they called? Sliders. They're called slider plates from Spirit 76. I'll show you those in just a second. So what I did was I went through all of my single shots, listed out what is shooting straight up, right, left. I kept all of my angles the exact same, where in years past I might have had like 5 different angles, which was very complicated for setup. This year, having them all be the same angle, which I'm not saying I recommend that, I'm just saying for me personally it worked out better this year. It's going to be easier once I get to the slider plates. Anywho, went through, labeled every position what I had. So for example, this has 18 shots in it. This is an 18 shot rack, so I'm going to use this for that position, and we'll talk about this rack here in a minute. And then with the slider plates, see this plate here, there's this connector holder, if you will, on the bottom. So these can just slide onto the plate. This could be mounted on a piece of wood at an angle. And then the bottom of my single shot mines and comets, you put your match in here, and then you run the wire through this little channel there, and then you can literally just push this down and it stays in place, and then this can be mounted at an angle, right? So I only have so many of those and so many racks, so I'm going to kind of configure how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do my 2 metal racks today. I need to go pick up some wood so I can build my angles for these racks, which I'll probably do in part 3 tomorrow. Anyways, let me go ahead and start working on my single shot metal racks. My intention was to do a video on these racks individually before the 4th. That did not happen, obviously. So probably going to come after the 4th. But these racks are from thecredco.com. The website's not up and running, but they're from a good friend of mine who makes these in the United States. And these are a huge improvement over what I had before. So these are all the effects I have for this position. So I have them split up between left, straight, right. I first need to match all of these before I put them into the racks. But I want to talk about the rack and how I'm going to set this all up. So each of these cups are individually adjustable. So if you pull, for example, this little lever, all 3 of these can move, right? So you can adjust their angles. And then when you're done, you just push that back up and it locks into place. And then there's these little nice angle finders you can drop in between the rows here. So if we go, for example, like to the middle, you'll see that that is straight up. Or if we wanted to put a little angle on it, loosen this cup here, and we could put, you know, like a 10-degree angle on this specific cup, lock in place. Okay, so it's really cool because these just slide in between the rows. And then why are these pool noodles here? Well, these are designed for single shot comets and mines, not shells. I want to mention that out the gate. They fit the 50mm comets and mines really perfectly. They just slide right in, all good. These smaller ones, such as 40mm or smaller, okay, there's a little bit of wiggle room. So the pool noodles are used to just kind of secure those into place, and pretty much you can use whatever you want. So if you have some extra cardboard, you can shove it in there. Pool noodles are cheap. You cut them in half, they're good to go. So I will be using pool noodles just to kind of wedge those into place once I match them. So now I'm going to go ahead and start matching all this stuff, so that way I can put them in the racks and set the angles. All right, and just like that, that position for comets and mines is now done. So is my other one. You'll see here we just have a few shots going left. We have 2 rows here going right and some straight up effects. And that's it. Once this is in its final resting place, I will take one of my little angle finders here and recheck the angles just to make sure that they don't shift. If someone, for example, hits the side here, it could cause the cup to shift a little bit, even though these are really secure. I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll do that as a safety precaution. Okay. That's it for the single shot racks for today. Tomorrow I'll be able to actually have the wood, so we'll build all of the single shot positions with these plates, the slider plates. So look forward to that tomorrow. And also tomorrow, hopefully, I might start liquid gluing down all of the single shot, or not single shot, the flames, comets, mines. And I might do that with cakes as well. So hopefully part 3 comes out tomorrow. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.